Hello and good evening. So right now we are in the session Sliit Init, and more often than not, the way we kind of want to structure the event is to basically give you an introduction to what the Sliit Foss community is and also the women in Foss community. And for that, I am Sahas Renuja. I'm the current secretary of the Sliit Foss community, and I'll kind of go through what the Sliit Foss community is for everyone. So this is actually the current board, which is actually installed this year. So as you can see, I am secretary, and we have Nisal looking around in the chat somewhere as well. And we also have all these other great members, or rather, I would say colleagues of ours, that we're all up to great things and always building things and always contributing with each other. Um, and when you think of the Slitforce community, it's actually much more larger than a community. I would say it's more or less a family of like-minded individuals, kind of understanding where each and other's strengths and weaknesses lies, and always kind of trying to push the boundaries of what we can build together. And speaking of things that we are building together, I'll just go through a few things that we've kind of come up with throughout the past year. So the first thing is the Leaderboard API, and obviously you can always check out these links. So the Leaderboard API is we obviously use GitHub quite a bit whenever we are building projects together and collaborating on new things and new ideas. Apologies. And for the lack of a better term, we kind of wanted to have an API of sorts, where you could just, it's a plug and play sort of system where when somebody pushes commits to a repository, we kind of have a point system for them. So we kind of gamified it and try to encourage more PRs and more commits to our own repositories. And we think we kind of did set the tone of how we want to approach it in sort of a fun way, as opposed to making it tedious thing. So I think the Leaderboard API is something that's quite interesting that we've kind of come across in the past year. We also have the Fosscast, so it's always not about coding and stuff like that, and obviously self-promotion here because I'm in the cover of this picture. So we actually have a podcast, and you can obviously listen to us on whatever places you actually listen to podcasts. So that would be Google Podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. And we, more often than not, we talk a lot about things that matters to us as university students. So obviously episode 3, which is the last episode we did, was actually with another fellow Sliit Foss community member, about how his journey, in which how he landed an internship, how he ended up working throughout the internship, how it affected his studies and all that. So we kind of end up talking about quite a bit of things rather. And I think it's also quite interesting for us to have that platform where students can just freely talk about things that they're interested in. And I think as Foss, we also have kind of contributed to that sort of the platform in itself as per podcast. We also have an automatic versioning tool. So basically, this is a tool that we, or rather, script that we came up with. I think this was maybe a few months old actually by the time this session is being done. So it's basically there's a little description as well. So it's a script which will automatically increment your app package version in accordance with conventional commits and git changes. So this takes away the hassle of you figuring out what versioning and all those things are, and it just allows you to freely, or it just automatically increments it by itself. So it's actually pretty quite neat trick as well. And I can obviously see a few people in the chat. Thanks for also participating in today's session. So this was also something that again a few of our members came up with. So obviously the Sliit Foss community is more or less a community in which we always come up with new ideas and we try them out. And obviously being the Foss community that is a free and open source community, we always try to end up pushing these sort of things into in a way such that everybody can sort of see these things. So almost all of these things, the codes and the repositories for this, if you go on to GitHub and you search for the repositories of Sliit Foss, all of these, more often than not, all of these things are actually just up there and available for you guys to kind of take a look through or stroll through, or maybe folk can contribute on your own. And this is something that we also take a lot of pride in, the fact that we are able to kind of build these things. It's not always about coders and talkers, as I've kind of mentioned before. It's also about people who can write technical articles. So here is a monthly article bundle for, this isn't last month's article bundle, but this is obviously a few months old. But we have a monthly article bundle, obviously, as the name suggests, it's monthly. And obviously we have a lot of members contributing technical articles. We have a very thriving Medium publication as well. We are one of the few clubs, right, or rather few communities at Sliit Malabe that actually has its own publication, which is something that we obviously take quite a lot of pride in. And then this also enables us to give a platform for students who might not be excellent coders or might not be excellent speakers, so they're also able to write whatever they are interested in, so they can also build a portfolio of such, so that they can show that they have the technical knowledge and expertise to other potential, let's say, recruits or whatever. So this is also something that we take a lot of pride in, and this is obviously something that even I have contributed to. I think almost every member within the Sliit Foss community, regardless of whether or not they are great at writing articles, we've just given it a try, and obviously we learn through that experience itself, and that's something that is very interesting within the Sliit Foss community. And we obviously, again, like even when it comes to writing or maybe coding or even speaking, none of these speakers, or at least I would say none of the members of the Sliit Foss community had these skills before we joined the community. It's that we realized where certain students might be talented in a way, or where certain students may be lacking in a certain way, and within the community itself we try to sort of encourage and cultivate talents in such a way that uh, they're basically able to stand out, and they're basically able to evolve themselves as great individuals to the community, so they can give back to the community as well. And I think this is where more often than not, a lot of people started off. Even I started off joining the Sliit Foss community actually last year. I was not that great in things like JavaScript or whatever, but because the Sliit Foss community was engaged in a lot of things that I unfortunately can't disclose because we haven't really handed over the projects yet. But because we have a lot of projects that engage with these new technologies, things like MongoDB or Postman or stuff like that, these are things that are used within like the international, not just the international, but I would say which are used in the industry rather. It allows me to also kind of learn this at no cost, because it's basically when I see my seniors do it, when I see my peers do it, when I see my colleagues do it, it's very easy for me to also kind of understand what they're doing and just hop on and learn these things. So I think it's definitely a plus point when it comes to the Sliit Foss community, because we take pride in the fact that we try to encourage this. For example, we even within our community itself, we have multiple sessions where we teach students Figma, UI design, stuff like that. Because we already have that expertise and talent within our own community itself, so we are easily able to reach out and make the right required connections for you guys to also thrive and end up being like great people to society. So this was actually quite a bit of a fun project that we did. You can check out this project on our Twitch channel. So it's basically what we did was, as we all know, we have power cuts, and we got a very confusing power cut, the schedule rather. It's an extremely long PDF where it's hard for you to figure out where you're getting your power cuts from. So you can actually go to this website and you can check it out. We basically created it in such a way where we use like Python. Actually, I made the Python stuff, so you can scrape that document and get it into like a JSON format. And then I believe there were certain individuals like Akalanka and Lakisuru who ended up developing, forgive me if I'm forgetting a few names, who ended up developing the front end and the kind of the business logic of the application itself. In, I believe it was JSON. It was in JavaScript. So you can just easily go out there, type your name, and you'll get all the details about when you're getting power cuts and stuff like that. So this again, we actually built this application live, so there's no editing trickery or whatever going on. So we showed the entire process of us trying to from the initial step of designing the application itself to figuring out how things are being done, to figure out how to get the data out of the PDF file that we got. So everything itself was documented, it was live. So just to kind of give that authentic look to how we end up doing things, and how we end up the design process, I would say, of like building applications. This is a cool application that we built live. This isn't obviously the only one, but it's one of the few that we have actually documented live, where all of us are hopping on a call and we've live streamed the entire thing. This is something that's quite interesting. So obviously Sliit Foss community is a lot more than what I've just portrayed, because we don't want this session to run on for a very long time. The Sliit Foss community is not just for skilled writers, it's not for just like coders, it's not just for designers. It's really a community of people who have a like-minded mindset of building things, or just like getting together with other like-minded individuals, discussing, finding out interests, learning new interests rather, and stuff like that. So I think the Sliit Foss community is definitely a community that I would recommend you join, and I will drop the link to how you can join the Sliit Foss community within the chat itself. And it's definitely a community that I would recommend itself, because I think personally, as an individual also, it has helped me thrive in certain ways that I did not figure out that I would not have figured out on my own. And that's not just all that we have for today. we also have our own dedicated women in Foss community, because obviously there's a bit of a gender gap within the tech industry as well. So the community has another own dedicated women in Foss community. And I think to explain the women in Foss community, we have a board member who's Sheka, uh, who's able to kind of run you through what the women in Foss community is. So yeah, without further ado, Sheka, your stage is yours.
Hi, thank you, Sahas, for that. So yeah, I'm a representative of the Sliit Women in Foss community, and today I'll be just giving a brief overview of what Sliit Women in Foss community actually is, and what exactly do we represent, and our purpose towards the free open source software. So we are basically a subsidiary of the Sliit Foss community, where we aim to bring forth empowered women, young women, into the information technology field, and then we spread awareness on the importance of free open source software. So if we move on, we have our board of executives for the year. We have our collab lead, Bhagya, and then we have Dulia, who is our development lead. She handles everything related to programming and development. Then we have Sandali, who is the design lead. She handles graphics and she has a full team behind her. And then comes me. I am the content writing lead, where I handle the Medium blog of the wife community. And then we have Bilakshi, our project coordinator. Then we have Metmi, event coordinator, Senara, membership lead, and Mudisha, our marketing lead. So these are our leads over here in the Sliit Women in Foss community. So to move ahead, we will just look into who we actually are and what our goal is. So Women in Foss is an all-girls society with its members being female students from the Faculty of Computing of Sliit. So the society provides a support environment to help girls grow as professionals in the field of IT with attention to free open source software. So if you are a woman tech enthusiast, this community is for you. So then our purpose is to empower potential and contribute towards free open source software. So we have plenty of opportunities, whether it's development, whether it's design, or whether it's even content writing. We have a whole load of opportunities for young women in Sliit to follow. So this is one of our projects that was held in the past year. We had the Hello World competition, the hackathon, which was launched initially. And this hackathon was focused mainly for girls, for young women. And we had many grooming sessions, awareness sessions, and I'm glad to say that over 200 participants joined this session. It was an inter-university competition, so there were plenty of universities who were willing to take part over here. And you can see we had more grooming sessions hosted by our very own team members, and then we had the winners, and so overall it was a great experience and a great networking session to go along with. Yeah. So now I will move on to Women in Foss Sri Lanka, in which we come under. So Women in Foss Sri Lanka is a community that strives to increase the awareness of women about free open source software. So that's where Sliit Women in Foss community comes under. And we encourage women to be empowered in the world of technology, like I said before. So yeah, that is pretty much it. We have plenty of more events being planned. You can visit us on our social media pages. We have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter, where you can just have a look at what the projects we do and get yourself registered. So on that note, yeah, so we have finally come to the end of our Foss Init. So if you're interested, we have added the form link at the bottom of the chat, so you can just click on it and then you will get yourself registered, and then we will have you in our team. So thank you for joining with us. Till then, take care and good night.